So the White House had their White House Correspondents' Dinner recently, where, we're not going to be invited to. In fact, nobody that is worth a damn, that's an actual journalist or a real truth-telling media personality should ever be proud to attend this event. If you attend this event, you're a hack. And the reason I say that so assuredly is because in order to attend this event, they know exactly who they're inviting in, because these are all narrative managers for the State Department's talking points. And this is one of them, Trevor Noah, who came in, and he came in as somebody that was like, oh, he's this progressive, and look, he's actually criticizing the government, and he's this, he's actually pushing back against Biden and against the status quo. No, he's not, because what's been happening is that they've co-opted the messages of criticism to allow for non-threatening critiques. So that's how they do it. And so they allow people like Noah to say critiques that are of no threat at all to the status quo. And they become the narrative managers because they can say these things. And they are looked at as, ooh, look at them pushing back. Look, he's a little bit far left, blah, blah, blah. But really, they're not threatening to anything. They're just literally co-opting the language and using it to continue the narrative and to crush any sort of dissent as fringe, because they're the ones that are allowed to criticize. And it's really nothing. And I don't know if you want to say anything before we play the video.
You want to know what Steve calls him now?
What?
Cuckweed.
I don't get it.
You know who buckwheat is?
No.
All right. We're old, Oz. We're friggin' old. But when you see who it is, and then you'll get it eventually. So I'm like, Steve, you had to go there, didn't you? But you know Steve. So you want to roll it? Because it's gonna, I know you've listened. It doesn't make a difference. You can listen to this 10 times. Even on the 10th time, you'll be just as pissed off as you were in the first time you listened to it. That's how disgusting this shit is. The fact that this guy has the nerve to say the things he says. And he's far from any type of progressive. He's far from pointing out any, for being any agitator. To act like he is. This here, nothing but theater. Nothing but theater. Did you see a lot of people on Twitter, fam, kind of like bragging about this and putting it?
Yep.
Oh my God, Trevor Noah. Did you?
No, he's perfect. He's the young African American, progressive. And this again, they're weaponizing, they're co-opting the actual, anti-establishment, anti-imperialist message, and they're weaponizing it against us. And that's what you have to know. It's not about opposing you, because opposing you is too obvious. They have to co-opt your language, pretty much become you, but a non-threatening version of you. And then they get to say this, which is absolutely disgusting. Let's just play it.
And so as we sit in this room tonight, people, I really hope you all remember what the real purpose of this evening is. Yes, it's fun. Yes, we dress nice. Yes, the people eat, they drink, we have fun. But the reason we're here is to honor and celebrate the Fourth Estate and what you stand for. What you stand for. An additional check and balance that holds power to account and gives voice to those who otherwise wouldn't have one. And like, I'm not just talking about like CNN or Fox or any of the other major organizations. I'm talking about everyone, the young journalists we saw today, intrepid journalists who aren't even in this room in Flint, Michigan, or that daring reporter at the Des Moines Register, or the unflinching local newscaster in El Paso, Texas. Every single one of you, whether you like it or not, is a bastion of democracy. And if you ever begin to doubt your responsibilities, if you ever begin to doubt how meaningful it is, look no further than what's happening in Ukraine. Look at what's happening there. Journalists are risking and even losing their lives to show the world what's really happening. You realize how amazing it is. Like, in America, you have the right to seek the truth and speak the truth, even if it makes people in power uncomfortable, even if it makes your viewers or your readers uncomfortable. You understand how amazing that is?
go outside your bubble, Trevor, and you can get a clue what's going on. And God damn it, the fact that you're saying all this stuff like we have all these freedoms while Julian Assange is sitting in a prison cell.
I mean, it's just...
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Well, I just think it's fucking disgusting that this guy has the audacity, and he damn well knows. It's not like he's an idiot. He knows. He knows
doing his part.
That this is. I'm sorry. What?
I said he was doing his part. He's doing his job. I'm hearing a little cutting out. Oz, what is that? Is that me or? Okay. I see what you're. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's disgusting that this guy is doing this, as you said, because Julian Assange is in prison. And by the way, if we had any sort of freedom in the United States, we wouldn't have to create a Ministry of Truth, or a disinformation governance board that is literally the copy pasting of Orwell's 1984 Ministry of Truth. Literally, you wouldn't have any sort of need to do that if we lived in a free country, in a free press. And this is what irritates me about both ends of the political spectrum. They still have this idea that we have a democracy or we have freedom. We don't have any of that. What you have is an illusion of choice, an illusion of democracy, an illusion of freedom. And people like Trevor Noah are there because they're influencers who are set to continue this propaganda machine to give people this appearance that we have some sort of democracy, to make people feel good about themselves, because we live in a country full of fucking narcissists who literally you just want to pat themselves on the back and say, oh, look, we put up a young African-American man, and look how progressive he is, and look how he can criticize Biden, and Biden can laugh, and they can have this exchange. Fuck the U.S., the fact that the United States allowed for the murdering of journalists in West Asia. The United States doesn't care that journalists are disappearing in Ukraine, that we had a missing Gonzalo Lira, who was literally the only reason he's alive is because so many people spoke out, and all of this happened, and you have people disappearing every day by Nazis that the US is funding. So yes, look at Ukraine. Look at how many people are risking their lives to report the truth and being smeared as Russian assets and complete and total Putin bots for telling the truth. And look at how every single anti-establishment or Russian or what they call pro-Russian media is labeled as Russia state-affiliated media, and how RT was literally shut down. RT America was literally taken off DirecTV and taken off pretty much any sort of network that you could view it in, completely taken off YouTube, and you can't even watch it anywhere in the West because the United States is trying to exert international jurisdiction over the free press. And look how PayPal is taking people's accounts down and is able to take their money. And look how Canada was able to go and stop people and criminalize them for donating to a bunch of anti-mandate truckers who were protesting these draconian rules. I don't understand how you can fathom that we live in a free society or a democracy when you have all this happening. And so the only thing I can conclude is this guy is a State Department hack, and you have to be a hack to be accepted into the status quo, to be accepted into the White House corresponding dinner and continue this facade. It is absolutely disgusting that is Julian Assange. These people have never said a goddamn word about Julian Assange, not once. And right now he's about to be extradited for what? For publishing U.S. crimes, Western crimes, and having the audacity to actually say, hey, this is what your government is doing. This is how they lied to you. Publish documents, completely documents that are just documents. There's no opinion, nothing on it. So you can't question that. WikiLeaks has never had to retract a story. Yet you have these literal pundits that are just hacks for the State Department, and they're there and they're able to gloat to themselves because he's gloating. Oh, see, look how I can say this and that, and I'm fine. That's why you're fine, because you're not a threat to the status quo at all, because you're a complete and total extension of and a useful idiot for the current regime. And that's what it is. Our friends are getting taken off the internet. They're being censored. We can't even freely express ourselves. And this asshole has the audacity to gloat about how free we are. when we're in the darkest time for journalism right now. I mean, it just doesn't get any more enraging than that to me, honestly.
Somebody, Bill Bradley, I think he put in the YouTube chat, like 1984 was supposed to be a warning, not a goddamn guidebook, for crying out loud. And that's where we're living right now. They're memory holding everything, and everything they just changed. They propagandized. You know, he even went into the paint when it came to Russia. But by the way, before we get to this next slide over here that has this next picture, fam, I don't know if you heard any of Biden's speech. Did you? Biden even talked about the way that everybody had to be vaxxed and boosted before they had to be in there. So even the Fox News reporters are they're vaxxed and boosted too. So they're using all this propaganda and messages right there as well. You know what I'm saying? It's just full on, full court press propaganda to the gills, 1984 style, fams.
Disgusting.
It is terrible. And I don't know how long it's going to be.
They can all go to hell.
The American people are asleep. This is what George Carlin said. They call it the American dream, because you got to be asleep, right? To see it, to get it, whatnot.
Yep.
Enough is enough. Wake up, people. You know, wake up.
So just going right along with the stupidity of this White House Correspondents' Dinner, here is Anthony Fauci, maskless with his friend. And then you have, of course, you can see in the crowd, they're all maskless except the help. The help is masked, because the help, they're dirty. But we're all vaxxed and boosted. So, but let's just make the help, vaxxed and masked. I mean, it's disgusting. It's the same thing that why I was so pissed at the AOC thing when they were carrying her dress train. Because they were masked and she wasn't. Oh, because they're all masked or vaxxed and boosted. Okay, so why mask the help? Like what? Well, that just goes to show you guys this whole thing is a fucking elitist joke. This whole thing. And here we have Mehdi Hassan, the other hack, who, by the way, is cheered constantly by a lot of these progressives, right? By a lot of these Bernie progressives that are still around. They love him. They're like, oh, yay, one of us made it into MSNBC, and he still gets to tell the truth. No, he doesn't. He's regurgitated every single State Department talking point about everything, from Syria to what's happening in Ukraine, to the McCarthyist attacks on Russia, to Russiagate, to the Trump derangement syndrome, to the January 6th attacks, to the election, to the pandemic, all of that. And every single point, he has been regurgitating propaganda. So sorry, he's not, any sort of agitator, any sort of anti-establishment fighter or revolutionary. He's a complete and total hack. And again, this is why he's at the dinner. And look what he writes. He wrote, "Shot. How I want to go to the White House Correspondents' Dinner tonight. Chaser. How I am going to the White House Correspondents' Dinner tonight." This is the epitome of virtue signaling. This is nauseating. This is the kind of bullshit that liberalism has descended into. Oh, we're gonna virtue signal about how I'm so responsible and I care about everybody around me. I'm gonna put on my mask,
fam.
and then I'm gonna make a post about it so everybody can see how great I am. This is narcissism. This is mental illness right here. Yeah. Like I swear to God, like this is not how a normal human would function. You do not get to gloat about wearing a mask in an event where supposedly everybody is double vaxxed and boosted, and then virtue signal about wearing your mask because now you're above everybody because you want to show how great you are and how amazing and caring you are for everybody, in spite of the whole narrative being literally decimated, especially as days go by. More and more the things that were said were called conspiracy or actually admittedly true. And so now you look like a total clown. And I mean, I don't know, fam. Like this is just.
I'm glad you hit the narcissism thing because, like you said, this is all about the narcissism. That the CIA or the intelligence apparatus, they understood how to go after people, right? You know what I'm saying? The psychological op that they got going on, really, they find these like inner narcissistic people who think they're more virtuous than everybody else. When they support warmongers, child pedophiles, and just virtue signalers across the board. Like you said, I'm doing my part. How I want to go, how I am going. I made a tweet about that, fam, and I explained to everybody what payaso means. And in English. It means Medi. That's exactly what it means.
I mean, and this guy, and he was retweeting all the things about Trevor Noah too, which is of course, I mean, par in line with the whole thing. But these are the kind of hacks that are supposed to be the progressives.
Yeah.
I mean, this is why I don't call myself a progressive anymore. I mean, this is I want none of that. None of that. And tell all of this to all the people that have had issues with the boop boop. Tell all of this to Julian Assange. Tell all of this to all the journalists that are in prison. All the political activists are in prison right now for daring to say something that didn't go with the State Department. All the people that have been murdered. Like, please,